I can promise you this was not a vacation in my eyes. I lived in Italy Wednesday, April 2nd at 12 p.m. This is the problem. Host mom is the only one that speaks English here.
Hi, welcome back. This is the reaction lady, and this is my very first reaction. As you can already tell from the title, I will be reacting to the whole incident that skyrocketed on TikTok with Elena Catherine and her job as an au pair. So we're gonna go through the disclaimer just to let you know. As you can already see on the screen, the content of this video are alleged. I have no facts on this or any of these videos that I will be doing. Everything in this video is just my personal opinion. This video is protected under fair use, and I don't know any of the persons mentioned. So this is not a personal attack on the young lady or anyone involved. This video was not intended to judge or discriminate against anyone. With that said, we're just gonna go through the very first clip. This is a 5-part series on TikTok. Hopefully, I do remember. I will leave the link to her TikTok down below so you can go follow it up on your own. And we're just going to start off with her leaving their house at 5 a.m.
I'm sneaking out of my host family's house. Let's go. It's 5:43 a.m. Oh my gosh, I'm literally shaking. That was the scariest thing ever. I couldn't figure out how to get past the gate, but I got it. And carrying all these bags, it's kind of scary. I just hope the train comes soon.
Now, as I was watching this section of the clip, it made me remember of that one time when I traveled to Colombia, and for the life of me, I could not get a taxi because Colombia does use Uber, but as it is a Spanish speaking country, like everything is and the currency is a lot higher. So while I was watching that section, it just really kind of reminds me how dangerous it is when you travel to a country where you don't speak the language. So watch the rest of this clip, and just basically her at the airport. She's just basically looking for souvenirs. I remember when I went to Mexico, and I went to Colombia first. I got this souvenir. I love keychains. I'm obsessed with them. And when I got to Mexico, I realized that I more like when I got back to the US, I realized that I no longer had my keychain. It says Guatape. I had a really good time. However, I'm getting sidetracked. So she was basically at the airport saying she didn't get any souvenirs. And the entire time, I kept wondering what happened because the way how she left. Also, she's a woman traveling by herself in a country where she speaks English. She doesn't speak any Italian. I just kept wondering what happened at the house, why she left. And I was hoping that initially in this first clip she would have said something, but she didn't. So we're gonna move on to her part 1 of the story time where she, I guess, tells us exactly what happens.
Here's the highly requested story time on how and why I had to sneak out of my au pair family's house in Italy. I just want to first say that I did not expect at all that video to do what it is doing right now. I'm like still in shock. I'm like really like don't know what is happening right now. This is gonna be multiple parts, so I'm sorry, but it has to be that way because I have a lot to say. And I want to make a disclaimer. I did pay for my entire flight there and back. They paid for nothing, and I can promise you this was not a vacation in my eyes. Like, I did not spend over $1,000 to fly there and back in less than a week. And I did my research, so all y'all can zip it. But we're gonna start from the very beginning. If you don't know what an au pair is, it's basically someone that goes to live with a family in another country, and you either watch their kids, you do light housework, and in return you get food and board. So I met my host family on Au Pair World. This is something that I've seen a lot of people do. It's not an agency, so it's not like official. I didn't pay for anything. We didn't sign any contracts, anything like that. But that is where I met my host family. Also in these videos, we're referring to them as host mom, host dad, and host child. That's what we'll do, because we don't need to be getting in trouble. I'm just telling my story, my experience. Okay, let's keep it going. So the host mom reached out to me. She said she liked my profile. She wanted to get to know me more, wanted to chat with me. I read over her profile, and on there were the things I would be doing. This included waking her son up, getting him changed, giving him his milk, walking him to school at 8:30, picking him up from school at 6, so he was in school all day long, and then heating up his dinner, and then I clean up after dinner. I also had Friday afternoons and weekends off. So fast forward a little bit, we FaceTimed twice. We got along very well. She was very talkative, seemed very nice, and I was really excited. I had let her know I was interested in coming to live with them. They agreed. They said that we'd be a good fit. So I then booked my flight to Italy and left for Italy 2 weeks later. So it was quick. They wanted an au pair as soon as possible. So I gave my work like 3 weeks notice. Mind you, remember, we have no contracts. I paid for my flight, so I was supposed to stay 85 days total, so about 3 months. Yeah, so to make this more organized and explain everything, I think I'm gonna break it down pretty much day by day, and I was there for 4 total days.
I do want to say that this is my first time watching all of these videos, so I don't really know what happened directly. However, I'm really praying that she wasn't in any sort of danger, because at this point it's kind of given clickbaitish, or it's given, what do you call that when someone goes online and they make up some story? Clout. It kind of seems like she's doing this for clout, because uh she was at the airport for 5 hours before her flight. So in that first clip that we watched, she could have said what happened, but I guess you could say it was because she was still in Italy. She didn't want to say anything, so we're gonna excuse that. Now she's in her car, she sat down with her coffee, she did all that intro. She could have said at least what happened. To me personally, this did not need to be a 5-part story, but feel free to comment down below and let me know what you think. Did it deserve the 5 part, or do you agree that she could have said that within the last 2 videos that we've watched so far?
This is the first red flag. At lunch, she starts ranting to me about her job. Apparently, she had been moved to a different position that was like lower. I honestly don't know. It was hard for me to understand a lot of the times. I just know that she was not happy. She got moved to a different position. But that was the first red flag. She already started putting her problems, like just ranting to me, and I had just got there. So after lunch, I settle in a little more, and then my host mom tells me to go with the host dad to the store so that I can get some food for breakfast and lunches for me. This is the second problem. This was a huge problem, because the host dad spoke no English at all. He spoke as much English as I speak Italian, which is none. I can say ciao. This was like one of the main problems, because they needed an au pair because the host dad is gone Monday through Thursday. He travels for his job, so he's gone Monday through Thursday. I was expecting the host mom to be teaching me these things, but instead I go to the store with the host dad. It's quite awkward because it's just silent. He can't speak to me, I can't communicate to him. When we're in the store, it's hard to communicate. We're just using Google Translate for everything. But we go to the store, we get the things we needed, and we get back home. When we got home, the host mom wasn't there. I guess she had left to go to work. So it was me and the host dad again. And one of my jobs is picking up the host child from school. Instead of showing me how to use public transport or the way to walk to get to his school, he took the car, which, okay, it's the first day. I'm okay with that. I didn't think anything of it, honestly, but as the story goes on, you'll see the problem. When we got home, I played with the host child. We were playing blocks. The host dad tried to show me how to heat up his dinner, which it was very difficult because, again, there's a language barrier, and the stoves, the oven, everything is different in a different country. After the host child eats, I'm still playing with him. Host mom says she gets off of work 7:30, 8 at the latest, and we'd eat when she gets home, and she'd be cooking dinner for us every night. But about 9 o'clock, the host mom gets home from work. She doesn't seem happy about work and about her situation there. But I still didn't pick up these cues until a few days later. We eat dinner that, mind you, the host dad cooked for us, not the host mom. And then the host mom shows me what I need to be doing after dinner, put away the dishes, clean the pots and the pans, wipe down the counters. None of this was an issue because I knew this was what I would be doing. After I did everything, I thought I was good to go to bed. It was pretty late at this point, but I said I was going to bed and she told me I needed to come bathe the host child. Which, one thing about me, I'm not good with confrontation, and I am not good at like sticking up for myself. So that was one of the issues as well, and that's on me. So I did it. I gave the host boy a bath. She like showed me how to do it, although I know how to bathe a child. She was just very particular about everything. Like everything had to be done her way.
Okay, first we're gonna address a few things. Now, I love the fact that she has basically respected the privacy of the family that hosted her in Italy. That's the first thing we're going to get out of the way, so I give her props for that. The second thing we're going to address is the language barrier. As someone who has traveled to two Spanish speaking countries, and when I tell you that I've traveled to two Spanish speaking countries, is the more you travel, especially if you've gone to a Spanish speaking country, you know that the Spanish they speak in Mexico, for some reason, it's not the same Spanish they speak in Colombia. And while I spent at least, I think about 20, over 2 weeks in 7 in Colombia, 7 in Mexico, and I got by pretty fairly solely on the Google Translate app. Now, I love Spanish. Every year I try to teach myself Spanish. At one point in my life, I was semi fluent, but I have no one to speak to, so I know I'm no longer good at it. But when I do speak Spanish, my Spanish is not bad. There was a joke when I went to Mexico. I was saying mi español es muy mal, and everyone would laugh because that was basically me saying that my Spanish was bad. Now the reason I'm saying this is when you travel, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. When you're traveling to a country where you don't speak the language, am I the only one who tries to know like basic conversation? She says ciao. What about hello in Italian? What about how are you? If you're traveling to like any country with Spanish and you're gonna spend money, cuánto is very good. Like, just mean how much. You buy something, you say cuánto, they know that you're saying like how much. Because if you get it, you get it. Now, she's made no effort to try to pick up on any. Like, she said that they use Google Translate, and as someone who has traveled over 2 weeks, she hasn't spent more than 2 weeks. And as someone who has traveled almost 2 weeks, and my survival was dependent on Google Translate, it's not, I wouldn't say it's 100% reliable, but it's an effective communicative device. That's one. As a parent, if I that's one of the reasons why when I just had my baby 7 years, almost 8 years ago, I took time off from work. Let me tell you, one of the worst things you can say about a mother is that they're particular about how they want things to be done with their child. That's her kid. Now, some people rather when their child brush their teeth before shower. Some people rather they shower then brush their teeth. Some people want their kids to have bubble bath. Where I currently live, we don't have a bathtub, so my daughter, since she's gotten older, has never had a bubble bath. We have a standing shower. And she likes to bathe for 30 minutes. Now, someone might ask, why does a kid bathe for 30 minutes? At at some point as an adult, you've had one of those days where you get home from work and you just want to feel the water running on your skin. Now, as to why the mother was basically um boring you with her life story, I am the type of person, that's one of the things my mother loves about me. I don't jump to conclusion, and since it's just your side, I don't know. I Did you ask her about her day? Did you ask her how was work? In what context was she telling you about her job? Like I said in the previous a while back, she has still not said anything concrete as to why she up and left at 5 a.m. in the morning, especially in a world where people are traveling to countries that, as a female, anything could have happened. So, was it a case where you were in so much danger that leaving at 5 a.m. was your only way out? That's just what I want to know.
Again, this is the problem. The host mom is the only one that speaks English here. The host dad speaks as much English as I speak Italian, which is none. The host child doesn't speak English either. The host dad is trying to show me how to do these things, but there's this big language barrier here. So this is why I just didn't understand why she couldn't have been helping me. The host dad got him his milk, didn't show me how to heat it up, didn't show me how much I'm giving him, nothing like that. And the host mom was still sleeping. The host mom ended up getting up at around 8:20. By the time we were ready to leave to take him to school, it was late and we had to take the car again, which I still needed to learn how to use the public transport and or to walk the directions to get there. So we drive, take him to school. It's awkward, it's hard to communicate, but I do it. And then when I returned home, I decided to take a little nap. I was still jet lagged a little bit. So I took about a 2-hour nap and I wake up to the host mom texting me, "Hi Ella, where are you?" So I get out of bed, I go into the kitchen and she's there. Also, I didn't understand this because I thought she was supposed to be at work. Like the things she says just aren't adding up. So she tells me that I should go walk around. So I'm like, okay, let me just get out. So I make myself some lunch and then I head out. This was my first full day in Milan. I did a vlog on it, so you can go look at that. You can see that I'm very happy. I was so happy when I was out of the house. I loved exploring the city I was in and I loved meeting new people, but when I was in the house I felt like trapped. I felt uncomfortable. It was just not what I was expecting at all. So when I got home, again, we drove to pick up the boy and I was with the host dad again because the host mom had gone to work later. Don't know why. We got home. The host dad tried again to show me how to make his dinner. And then after he eats, we go into the living room, hang out. And the host dad goes to pick up the host mom from work. This is like 8:30 at this point. They get back at like after 9:30. He doesn't have a far commute to work, so I was very confused about that part. Like, where did they go? Why did they leave me alone with him so long? When like I'm just learning and I barely learned anything because of this language barrier. I had to give him a bath again that night, which is fine. I would have done it and been happy doing it if it was what she had said I would be doing. But instead she said I would be cleaning up after dinner while she gives him a bath because she wants to spend time with him because she's at work all day. That was day 2, but my first full day. Day 3 and 4 are really when I just couldn't take it anymore.
As I was watching this, I realized that there was clearly some miscommunication, and I'm not just referring to the language barrier because it's evident by the way Ella is speaking that she does not or she wasn't told exactly what her role as an au pair would have been. Also, I know she said earlier that there was no contract signed, but I get that this isn't a typical job, but as you were or as you would with a regular job, when you apply, you would find out what your responsibilities entail. And I guess that's one of the biggest problem throughout while I've been watching all these clips. She doesn't exactly know exactly what her responsibility is. Also, there's this little section where she was concerned. Remember, she first said that she didn't like that the host mother was telling her about her job. And at the same time, she was a little bit worried or concerned with why she wasn't at work, and she said she'd be at work. Or there was this part where they were missing and they didn't know why they had left her with the child. Now, I have always known what an au pair is. It's a word I've known since high school. I was a big spelling bee person. And I'm gonna go on Google real quick just to see if my definition is a definition that they've been going by. Okay, yes. According to Google, an au pair is a young person, typically between the ages of 18 and 30, who travels to another country to live with a host family and provide childcare in exchange for room and board. So if she's possibly a small stipend. So if she was supposed to be providing childcare, why was she complaining that they left her with the kid? However, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, or am I the only one who's noticed any of this, by the way?
Friday, April 4th. So this morning went exactly the same as the previous morning, except this morning I stood up for myself a little bit. I asked if we could please take public transport so I could learn how to do it, because Monday I would have been doing it by myself. So again, the host dad and I take the host child to school, but we use public transport. So he's trying to show me how to use public transport. We're just kind of looking at his phone because, again, the language barrier. If you go back in my other videos, you know that the number one problem is that the host mom isn't helping me at all, and she's the only one that speaks English. So we get back home. I had the day to myself. This was the day that I met up with the other girls, and it was super fun. I vlogged that day as well. At around 2 o'clock, I text the host mom asking what time I should be home so that we can go pick up the host child, and she replies to me saying that the host dad's gonna pick him up and I didn't need to come home because, again, normally I would have my Friday afternoons off. I hang out with my friends a little longer and then I walk home. When I get home, I decided to call my parents. No one was home at that point. I called my dad and mom for the first time since I had been in Italy. I was very emotional. I got off the phone. I texted the host mom asking what time she'd be home, just because we'd been having dinner so late and I wasn't expecting that at all. Just not as late as we were. We were having dinner like 9:30, 10:30 every night, when she said we'd be having dinner 7:38. I texted her about 6 p.m. asking when she'd be home. She said about 10 minutes. So I get in the shower, I shower. At this point, the host dad and the host child were home. So I grab my Kindle and I go out to the couch and I hang out with the host child. He's playing, I'm reading. The host dad makes the host child dinner, gives him a bath, and then he's like still playing. At this point, it's like 9 p.m. The host mom is still not home. This is the first instance when my red flag alert immediately started going off. So she comes home a little bit after 9 p.m. I was still reading on the couch, hanging out with the host child. She comes into the living room and proceeds to raise her voice at me. She was not happy that I was sitting there reading. She asked me why the host dad was doing everything, why I wasn't helping him cook dinner, why I didn't bathe him, why I wasn't playing with him, why I wasn't cleaning up his toys, all of these things. And I was just honestly confused. I apologized because that's just what I do. I apologized. I said, I'm sorry, this is maybe a miscommunication. I thought that I had off. You had told me I didn't have to go pick him up from school. I'm sorry. And she kind of just said, you need to be paying attention, and then just walked away. Anywho, that night we eat dinner. I cleaned up, and then we had a tablecloth on the table that we didn't have previously. So I asked her. She was sitting on the couch. Table's here. Couch, table. I asked her what I can do with the tablecloth, and she tells me to ask the host dad. I just couldn't understand why she couldn't have just told me what to do with the tablecloth and why I had to go ask the host dad when the host dad doesn't speak English. Oh my gosh. So that was so frustrating for me. Saturday was the day that I just realized I needed to leave. I was not comfortable at all.
I still don't know exactly why she left, but I'm glad we're kind of getting somewhere. Also, as a woman who has traveled to another country, I'm glad that she got out safe, and that I'm a firm believer that if you're not comfortable in a situation, you should get out. And I respect her leaving at 5 a.m. because she felt that she had to leave. Um, I, I'm a sucker for details, and a few things that she said, let me get this out of the way. I wasn't there, I don't know what happened, but there are a few inconsistencies in the story. She said that she needed to know how to get on the public transportation because she would have needed to do it on the following week. But the way she spoke gave you no indication that they have fully gone over what her responsibility was. Also, they did not sign any contract, and based on what has been happening, um, it seemed that the host father, was okay with taking the child to school. also she says she doesn't speak any Italian, right? So if you don't speak any Italian and you were, say, supposed to get on the bus and go pick up this child, and something happened and you had to speak to someone, how remember, she kept saying that she didn't like the fact that the mother was sending her to the father, and she didn't speak any she didn't speak any Italian. But you're gonna go on public transportation, you're gonna interact with other people that speak Italian. You're gonna go to a school and pick up a kid that speak Italian, right? Now, forgive me if this sounds ludicrous to me, but how are you going to pick up a child so low that you don't know how to communicate with? That's all I'm saying. Because she kept saying that she needed to learn how to go into public transportation, and she needed to learn how to do this, and she needed to learn how to do this, and there was a communication barrier because he didn't speak English, she didn't speak Italian, but you were okay with going by yourself to pick up a child that you have stated multiple times you don't know how to communicate with.
Saturday, April 5th, this day was the day that broke me. I just want to remind everyone that Friday afternoon, Saturday, and Sunday were my days off. I chose to spend it with them that day. We were going to Portofino. They were going to show me around Portofino. So I woke up at 8:15, got ready for the day, and was out and ready to leave by 9. The night before, the host mom had told me we are leaving no later than 9 as it is a 2-hour drive to Portofino and we want to get there early. So she walks out of her room at a little past 9 in her pajamas. She had just gotten up, gotten out of bed. And honestly, this like really annoyed me because I was tired too. She had had me up late the last night. She slept in and I was ready at 9. Okay. I didn't say anything. Of course I didn't. She got ready. I dressed the host child and we left. Got focaccia for lunch, which was really good. This was at about 12. Afterwards, we went to a beach and we sat there for about 3 to 4 hours. So after the beach, we got up, we walked around. This was about 5 p.m. And then host mom decided she wanted to stop at another pretty town. We went there, we walked around a lot. I will say, I was being left with the host child a lot. He's a slow walker, so they were walking way in front of me. And I wasn't gonna just leave the child, so I was walking with him, either holding his hand, or at times I'd pick him up and we'd run to catch up with them. But they were just kind of like ignoring me and just leaving me with him. Again, it was my day off, but I chose to be there with them. So the next part is where everything just changed for me and I realized I just needed to get out of there. We leave at around 8 p.m. The host dad pulls the car around. I get in the car. The host mom puts the host child in the seats and we get honked at. Because we're just sitting in the middle of the road, duh. I would honk too. And immediately, the host mom snaps at me. She gets into the car, raises her voice at me again, saying that I wasn't paying attention, I haven't been helping at all today, and I'm not like learning. First off, I was pushing the stroller at least half that day. I held his hand, I carried him. I stayed back with him while they were way ahead of us. So I was paying attention. You were not paying attention. Just snaps at me and I just wasn't understanding. But I was just like, okay. I just kept saying okay. There was no point in arguing with her. So at this point, I decided I wanted to leave. I changed my flight to the next day. I do want to say I didn't tell them that I wanted to leave for multiple reasons. One, I felt uncomfortable. I didn't necessarily feel safe. Two, the host dad's job, I'm not gonna say a lot of details. It was something in a field that like made me uncomfortable and kind of made me a little bit scared, and I didn't know how she would react. I decided that I just needed to get out of the house. I felt super trapped. On the car ride back home, we get stuck in massive standstill traffic. I was exhausted, so I fall asleep in the car, and then the host mom wakes me up and she turns around, she raises her voice again and starts telling me that I need to be reading to the host child, I need to be teaching him English, interacting with him, and again paying attention. At this point, again, I was just so tired. I had a massive headache. I just wanted to get out of there. By the time I got home, it was around 11:20. That night is the night that I packed everything back up. And then in the morning, as y'all saw, I left. That is why I left. I did feel very uncomfortable there. I felt trapped. I had a really bad gut feeling. I just needed to get out. And that's my reasoning to why I had to leave.
Like I said earlier, I felt this video was kind of clickbaity and for clout. She did went ahead and make a follow-up video, which I will not include in this. So she just spent a 5-part series when all she needed to say was she left because the host mom shouted at her, and because the host dad did a weird job that she doesn't feel safe, or she's not gonna say, and the job doesn't make her feel safe. Now I'm gonna ask a question and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. Like, these type of jobs have people have been doing these type of jobs from God knows when. Because I knew a girl from the UK that did it for a year. So the question I have is, why didn't she find out the next? Because she said earlier that they contacted her. I've all gone on the website as well. And you go and you basically get to pick from, because I went in, I entered all the information, and it shows you the list of family, how many families, but you have to sign in to see, and you can communicate and all that stuff. What I want to know is, why didn't she get like information, like what type of work do you do, what are the hours? Also, given that this is a website, I don't know why, and I probably should have done like more research, but I don't know why they don't have any form of contract, anything that's binding, because at this point, if these people were to come out and say what happened, it would basically be her word against theirs against hers, and I don't know. But let me, since because I've entered like the bulk of the clips that she posted, let me know, what are your thoughts on this whole thing? Would you or would you not go abroad to be au pair? I've always say au pair. So if I don't pronounce it right, don't come and get me. Also, I've also have a problem with the way how she kept insisting that they do not speak English for the dad and the son, but at no point did she herself say that I have made an attempt to communicate with them. She has not said that. But if you heard her at any point saying that, feel free to correct me. It is currently 4 a.m. in the morning when I'm doing this video. So right at the end, let me know, what are your thoughts. Don't forget to go ahead, subscribe, share this video if you like it, leave a comment down below, encourage me in some way so I might stay up another night and post more of these. With that being said, thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day. Bye.